So to kick off day 2, we've got one of my favorite speakers, the infinitely enthusiastic and passionate and prolific engineer, Dav Glass, who has been the heart and soul of YUI for a long time and has now spread his wings beyond our team to work on even more influential and key open source projects for Yahoo. I'm really excited for this talk because it's going to be a bit of a stroll down memory lane, and we've kind of gone through a lot together, and there's a lot of detail in there that he's managed to recall. So I'm very excited to welcome Dav Glass for our opening keynote. Thank you.
All right. How y'all fucking doing this morning? All right, so I goes out to Trip, wherever the hell he's at, because I told him the first 20 seconds I'd drop the F-bomb for him. And I've got a nice little shirt here for you. Kind of figured that fit in. So are we having fun yet? Are you awake? You're not loud enough. Are you awake? All right, damn it. All right, so this was an amazing little talk for me to try to put together because I went and dug really deep in a lot of places, and I tried to pick out some of the key things that has changed in YUI over the years, and how that's influenced open source at Yahoo, and how Yahoo's initial open source has really helped YUI. Because as you can see here, this is Emotes, and he is our chief architect, and he is absolutely 100% behind anything that we want to do open source. I've had words with him before, and it's like my goal at Yahoo is to open source any damn thing that doesn't have a patent on it. So if there's a piece of code that they've got sitting there that's useful for anyone and it doesn't have a patent on it, it's gone. I'm going to toss it up on GitHub. We're going to support it. We're going to do everything that we do as YUI has done. Yahoo's going to do that with everything else. And my focus right now is on Node. And we have open sourced, I think, 15 of our core modules that were internal. And I've given them a goal of open sourcing 2 modules a month. So we're just going to keep open sourcing and open sourcing and open sourcing. And I believe we actually have our first pull request going into Node next week. And it will actually land in master, which is huge for us to finally have a real Node core fix. And it's a simple one, but nobody had ever thought of it. When you fire up Node, you can hit it with a SIG user 1 to turn it into debugging mode. Well, we just said if you hit it again, it turns it off. It's dead fucking simple, but nobody had ever thought of actually doing that before until you jump into an application the size that we run, and you need to get that application into a certain state, and then you want to turn debugging on so then you can debug whatever the hell you're looking at, and then you turn it off, and then you get your application into another state, turn the debugging back on, and look at what you're doing. So nobody thought of that because they're all still building these little bitty tiny things, and we're not. So it was great to actually have that landing in core. You know, I've had several pull requests that I've issued for documentation and little stuff, but this is our first real chunk of code, and I can't wait for the guys to keep doing it more and more. So, like I said, with this talk, I'm actually going to try to go back in time a little bit. I know this is not history for a lot of people because they think history is being like the 1960s, but in the web development world we move so fast. And in 1996, does anybody know any of Yahoo history of like what Yahoo was built with back in like 1996? No, it was not PHP. Philo actually wrote his own web server called the Philo web server. And we used that to serve pages called the Philo server pages. And they were actually written by David Philo himself. And they were actually at Yahoo for a long time, because when I started in 2006, I was editing Philo server pages on some of our very, very old systems. But in 1996, that all changed when we actually adopted Apache. So that was our first really big step into open source. And we haven't stopped since then. After we adopted Apache, we started fixing it and fixing all the bugs and making it even stronger because we were growing faster and faster, and we were pushing that thing harder than anyone else had ever done. So we started helping out with that. Anybody know who the little red guy is over there? Come on. Yeah, all right, BSD. So BSD and Perl were the other things that we started playing around with. Yahoo actually has a significant amount of code inside of FreeBSD. And because that was the #1 serving architecture that they used for years. And we just gave it all back. We didn't keep any of it. Every change that we made, we gave right back to FreeBSD like we do everything else. So that's kind of where it started at. But I'm going to jump a little bit farther ahead into 2002. Anybody know what happened in 2002? That's when PHP actually showed up. So there's a big difference between 1996 and 2002. So we started helping with PHP in 2002, and I believe that's around the time we hired Rasmus. And Rasmus worked at Yahoo, and we worked with that. And most of our engineers were actually committing code back into PHP. Everything that we did, anything that we modified, we were helping to strengthen that language. And it's really good to look at that, because if you compare that to now, we're doing the same thing with JavaScript and Node. And that's why this kind of leads into YUI itself, because we know what we like. We found something that suited what we needed to do at the time, and we fixed it, and we made it better. We made it stronger. We made it hold up to the stress that Yahoo can actually put on something. And after that, we're going to jump to 2006. We're going to skip up because I'm trying to get to the actual YUI stuff. Anybody know what happened in 2006? What version of YUI? It went up on SourceForge, and it was actually 0.9.0 was the first public release of YUI. That's old. We actually scraped this off of Web Archive. That is the first landing page for YUI in February of 2006. It was pretty crazy because it actually got picked up by Slashdot. So there's the actual Slashdot article from February of 2006. Commander Taco actually posted check out the category it's in. Hey, we should check this out department. So it was pretty big at the time. I mean, there was not very many. There was Prototype, Scriptaculous. I'm not exactly sure of the date that jQuery came out, but this was February 14th, 2006. And the comments are pretty decent to read too. When it came out, it was actually launched on 2/13. So Slashdot picked it up an extra day later. But this was the core pieces that were actually in the library in 0.9.0. Now, the really cool part is that a lot of this stuff, I've got to turn my presenter's notes on. I forgot them. So there was actually 2 versions of YUI at this time. So there was actually a 1.0. Nobody saw that because 1.0 was our internal version, and there was nothing different between the two. They were exactly the damn same. But for some reason, they decided to publish the public one at 0.9.0, and the internal one was 1.0. And that was a bit confusing for people when suddenly we shifted to 2. YUI 2 came out after this. So during 2006, they changed quite a few things. Why are my slides not moving to the next one? There we go. So in May of 2006, we had 0.10, and that's where all the CSS tools came in. Those are the things that people really was baffled by, because we had fonts, and we had reset, and that was the first version of grids. And that was our first actual step into doing more than just JavaScript, which was different than everybody else. And 2006, they actually kept kind of busy. You can see that there was a lot of releases here in 2006. There was a whole boatload of new features that came in, and someone decided that we would open this little mailing list called YUIConf. How many of you guys are ever on that mailing list? All right, so this might have been before some time, but one of the other things that happened to show up in 2006 was this guy. And this is my first post to YDN JavaScript in 2006. And it was July 13th, 2006 was the first post. And by the time we closed that mailing list, I had 4,475 posts on that mailing list helping people out. And the majority of them was a one-line link to an example that I wrote to help them instead of actually explaining the damn issue. At that point, I think I had 250 plus examples on my site, and the YUI team itself only had like 90. So the other one that showed up there was Mr. Carity back there. So Mr. Carity showed up out of the blue in December of 2006, helping people the same way I did. But at the time, he was in Cuba. And so we would only talk by IM because at that time, Skype didn't exist. We'd never actually met, but we talked like every day. And then, we shifted off into 2007. And 2007, we actually got a real website. So, the website it looked a little prettier. We added some more colors here and there. And at that point is when we officially released 2.2.0. And this was a pretty big release because there was a whole bunch of new stuff that we added in. We were changing all kinds of things because data table. So data table was like a first of its kind. It was like the really big widget, and everybody was like, oh my God, look at everything this does. And we actually released it at Yahoo like 6 months before. That's why there was no 2.0.0 and 2.1.0, because those were internal ones. And we came out with 2.2.0 as our first really big YUI 2. And what really made this one important was back to Carity again. Carity had this thing called the bubbling library. Have you guys ever heard of this one? So the bubbling library actually, it was really interesting because a lot of the fundamentals from YUI 3, Carity was exploring a lot of those in the bubbling library. So he had this really firm grasp on like the event bubbling of being able to put widgets inside of widgets inside of widgets and having them propagate up and down. And it was really ahead of its time at that point. And there was another one that came out, another extension. And you guys ever heard of YUI-EXT? Okay, I almost guarantee you have heard of that. You guys heard of EXT.js? That used to be YUI-EXT. So it originally started as an extension for YUI, and it was a plugin layer that sat on top of YUI 2. And then eventually that EXT.js became Sencha. So a lot of the last time I checked, there was actually, you can see some of our old event system and stuff that were in several of their releases up until a few years ago. You could look in there and see that their drag and drop was actually powered by YUI 2's drag and drop. And their event was powered by YUI 2's event system. So we made a big shift in 2007 and 2008. The other thing that happened in 2007 was I actually joined the team at that point. So a lot of people like to think that I was the first community member to join YUI, and I actually wasn't. I was not the first one because I was a Yahoo before that. So I worked at Yahoo in 2006, and I worked in a different team. But I was getting to the point to where Eric Moralia was actually throwing me out of classes. So I would show up to take the YUI classes, and he's like, you just leave. You could teach the class. I'm just going to write it down that you were here and just go away. So they at that point, I took a class with Thomas Shaw, and we were doing an I.O. class, and everybody in the class was just trying to make a simple I.O. request. He walks back to my machine, and I've got like this animated thing bouncing around, showing the weather. I was bored, and he's like, you need to come talk to the YUI team. So I officially joined the team in 2007. And in 2007, we had a big chunk of modules come out. All of these releases came out. We went from a little 19 modules to 31 modules in 2007. And in 2008, we got an even better website. So they realized, hey, this thing is starting to take off. We're gonna give you a little bit more. So we started redesigning a few things, and we had a whole list of really big modules come in. But the biggest stuff was in 2.3.0. I really believe that 2.3.0 was the turning point for YUI. Everything that happened after that point was a direct result of this thing. And the first thing is the loader. I mean, how many of you guys use YUI 3's loader? All right? So that thing was actually built in 2007 and 2008 in YUI 2. And we prototyped it at that time. And it was revolutionary. Even back, even now, it kicks ass. But back then, nobody had ever heard of it before. And the editor was my first contribution to it. And the reason I put editor up there is because it was the first YUI widget that just used everything in the entire system. The dependency tree was huge, right? And that was when we started thinking, what the fuck are we going to do with all this stuff? So the final thing that actually showed up is the combo loader. All right, that was what actually showed up and changed the fucking planet when it comes to what we do. All right, I mean, how many of you guys use the combo loader? All right, isn't that fucking thing cool? All right, so that thing like completely changed the way that we do front-end engineering. I just happened when I was doing my slides, I had a bag of combos there, and I just thought that was a really cool picture to put up for it. So yeah, those things I truly believe, 2.3.0 changed the way YUI was even everything that YUI had done before, it completely changed, because at that point we had to have a build system, we had to register our modules, loader had to figure out all this intricate stuff, then we had to figure out how to load it, and then we realized that's a lot of fucking files, so we had to develop our own technology to do this stuff, to slam these things together, so that we could make one single request or two single requests and just make it faster and easier. The other thing that came out of 2008 was the grids. I mean, how many of you guys use Pure? Okay, you guys know that that's technically the YUI grid system, right? Shake your heads if you understand that. Okay. So the grids actually, they came out in 2008, so the first version. And so I went home one night and I hacked up this little thing called a grid builder. You guys ever remember using that thing? And that thing, it took off because Mr. Jeremy over there happened to post about it, and it actually fried my server. So I had it hosted on blog.daveglass.com, and I had a phone call from a buddy of mine that was hosting my little bitty box, and he said, smoke is literally pouring out of the back of this thing. And that's when Eric moved it to developer.yahoo.com, where it is today, and I had to throw up another machine and put one little redirect that threw all of that traffic over there, because it literally just ate up my entire machine. And that was a big turning point for us, because then we realized it wasn't just JavaScript that we wanted to do. It was also CSS. It was very, very important to us. So we've always maintained that we're not just a JavaScript library. We're a JavaScript and a CSS library. And the CSS is very important. The other thing that we got in 2008 was our first logo. That was our first official logo. And it was so weird that all of us sat there and stared at our damn keyboard for how many years and didn't realize that YUI was right there on the fucking keyboard side by side. Who the hell, why did we not notice this? We're a bunch of geeks staring at our fucking laptops, and we never noticed that those three keys were side by side until someone at one of the front-end engineering summits took a picture of a laptop really closely and posted it, and we're like, well, duh. And we made it a fucking logo. So the next thing in 2008 that was pretty cool is that this guy shows up. Now the funny thing is that he showed up in Florida from Cuba. I didn't ask. I have no fucking clue what the hell happened in between the time that he disappeared until the time he showed the hell up. I'm not saying that somebody dropped a big purple raft anywhere, but he showed up and nobody asked. I will not ask. But it was great to see that suddenly, he just kind of disappeared for a little while. And I used to talk to him every day. And I'm like, I don't know where the hell Carity went. And all of a sudden he pings me and he's like, dude, I'm in Florida. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in Florida? He's like, I don't ask. I'm like, okay. And I never have. All these years I have never asked, and I do not want to know. But he made it to Florida, and I'm really happy about that. So the actual final things that happened in 2008 was we went on GitHub. Now this is the fundamental, total changing point for everything that Yahoo and YUI has done in open source, is GitHub. When they launched that thing, you can actually see that Yahoo joined it 6 months before YUI did. So Yahoo was actually had our account there, and they were pushing source code to GitHub before YUI had gotten their account. I didn't know that until I actually went to make these screenshots. So I actually had to look up and find out what was there beforehand, because I didn't realize that Yahoo had the account before YUI did. So I mean that was pretty interesting. That one surprised me. I was in shock on that. So the advent of GitHub, like I said, just changed everything the way that we did. I mean, we had to actually step back and look at what we were doing. And I can remember having the conversations with Adam back there when we first learned about this thing called Git. He came to me and he's like, dude, you've got to check this shit out. This is just like totally cool. And I was sold within the first 2 minutes of looking at it. I'm like, I see, this is what we want to do. And then Eric Moralia actually pointed me to GitHub because it was in private beta, and he's like, you need to see this. And I started playing around with that. I started talking to the owners of the place, and then Adam and I, without talking to anyone else on the team, decided that we're going to move everybody from CVS to Git. We didn't take an opinion. We didn't ask anybody about it. We just said, fuck it, we're going to do it. And I spent several months exporting everything from our CVS history into the 2 different GitHub repos. And I'm proud to say that in 2009, that not only were we doing stuff, but Yahoo open sourced our traffic server. Have you guys ever heard of the Apache traffic server? The Apache traffic server probably serves a shitload of content on the internet that nobody even realizes. And that thing used to be called the Yahoo traffic server. And we open sourced it in 2009 and gave it to the world and said, here, you guys can have it. One of the other things we did in 2009 was we open sourced our version of Hadoop and merged it in with the main code line. And we've been a very big supporter of Hadoop after that. But for my personal part of it, 2009 was a very important year. I still believe it was the best thing that I have done in the 6.5 years that I was on the YUI team was pushing that shit to GitHub. Those are the exact tweets from the middle of January of 2009 when I pushed the source code for YUI 2 and YUI 3 to GitHub. Before that, we had never released our source code. We had always done a build, and we had put it in a zip file, and we had gave it away that way. And people gave us shit for it. I gave us shit for it. I was pissed. So I spent my entire Christmas break importing all the CVS history, mapping all the usernames, rewriting all the history in CBS into Git to formalize these Git repos and push them right after everyone came back from the break. Because a lot of you guys out here know that in the middle of the end of December, nobody does shit. We can't push anything because we don't want to break anything whenever, we don't want to break production servers and stuff like in the middle of the holidays. So I waited until after the holidays were over and pushed this thing up. And I still think that is the greatest thing I've ever done. And that is my pride and joy, was pushing that up, because it changed everything. Everything that team had ever known how to do, we had to learn again. Because we were now no longer in private. We were now no longer doing this on our own. The people were weighing in. And that's who you guys are telling us what you want to do, starting with this. And the other thing that happened then too was that we actually launched our first website. So we moved from developer.yahoo.com to YUI Library. And that's the original design that Nate Keckley and I put together. Again, I didn't ask for permission. I just built the damn thing. I built it and I put it up. It was actually, the majority of that website was built during my paternity leave when my daughter was born in 2009. I said while she was asleep, I was at home with the kids, but damn, it was a newborn. She sleeps all the fucking time. So while she was sleeping, I just pulled my laptop out and I built the site. I put the forums together. I built the bug tracker by hand because we needed one and I couldn't find one that worked. And this was our first attempt to rebrand ourselves. So we've tried to do that several times. The other thing that came out in 2009 was YUI 3. So 2008 we were doing preview releases, but 2009 was the first official beta release of YUI 3. And anybody else know what comes right after this? What else came out in 2009? Because I did it at the first YUIConf. Notice it now? The gallery. We launched that thing at the first YUIConf. So that was, 2009. I stood up in front of the entire room and just amazed them all because nobody had ever done that before. We were opening up our CDN to anyone and allowing them to host their modules. And we had a good sense of humor about it because I actually built the gallery in less than a month. I had 3.5 weeks to build the entire thing. And I did half of it, and Adam back there did the other half. So when I got up on stage to tell everybody, the whole room was like, oh my God, this is cool. And I was walking you all through the whole thing of how you actually publish. And I went to submit my CDN request, and the fucker back there denied me. He actually denied my pull request in front of the room of everybody. So I had to like change my entire damn presentation to fit in and do it all over again so he could submit it. And then he actually did a CDN push right there from inside the room. I don't know how many of you guys were here for that first one, but we actually had a CDN push because there was a member in the audience, Greg Hinch. He posted the form module during my talk. As I was doing the talk, he was following along, submitting the pull request and everything that he needed to do, and that was the first official one that went in the library. How fucking cool is that, right? I mean, it's totally cool that somebody does something like that. Like I said, the gallery changed everything because now you guys were able to build modules, and you guys were able to put them inside of your code exactly like we do. And you were able to leverage our CDN. You were able to leverage all of our infrastructure to get what you needed to get done. And like I said, nobody had done that before. It had never been done before, especially on our scale, saying that we're just going to give you our entire edge network. You got it all. And I didn't get a chance to do the stats on it, but I know that we do one gallery build per week. And that's roughly 52 a year, and that's 5 years. You guys do the fucking math. I'm not going to do it this morning. But that's a lot of goddamn builds. A lot of builds. And that was, I believe, toward like October or November of 2009. So we step into 2010, and we started to make that new journey as a new team. I mean, there was something that, we were learning things. And the first thing that I did was, of course, I shook the whole fucking planet up and I put YUI on Node. Nobody had ever done that shit before. It had never happened. A full JavaScript library running inside of Node, and it was like 0030 or something like that. Not only did I have YUI3 running on Node, but I had, I have no idea why that threw over one, but I had YUI2 running on Node. And I was actually rendering like server-side HTML and shit, and it was a complete prototype. It was a total fucking hack. And that changed, I think that also changed the way that we looked at things, because now we were no longer just working with web browsers. This technology showed us that we could be using our tools in all these different places. It opened us up. I mean, now we've got Arduinos, and we've got Node copters, and we've got that new Tessel that came out. Have you guys seen that little device? It's got Node built into the damn hardware. I mean, how could we have seen that in 2010? But I knew that I loved this thing, so I wanted to keep pushing it. One of the other things that happened in 2010, which was that slide there, that was our first official pull request to YUI3. And it was a fucking editor, of course. But that one was a big thing. I mean, because we had never had someone contribute code before. I mean, besides a Yahoo, we had never had someone contribute code to YUI before that point, because they couldn't. We didn't give them the damn source code. The internal Yahoos could do it, but no one in the public could. And that guy was in the public. He wasn't a Yahoo. So that's the first official pull request for YUI. How fucking cool is that? I mean, come on. We went all those years being completely isolated and hidden behind, and nobody knew what we were doing. And we were taking it out there. We're like, here, this is our stuff. If you like it, fucking help us. And so far, it's gone really, really well. I mean, if you guys can't read that, there it is. 9/10 of 2010, at like 4 a.m. I don't know what the fuck he was doing up at 4 a.m. besides, I'm the only one that's up at that time. But at that point, everything just completely changed for us. And we had to, we started hiring more people into the team that had the experience in open source. I mean, because at the time, not a lot of people knew how open source worked. But GitHub changed that even more, because it made it even easier. Because back in the old days, I mean, it was a fucking nightmare to get code into somebody else's stuff. It would take months and months and months to get a patch. It would take sometimes years to get new features. And now we're able to do it with a push of a damn button. It's like, oh my God. So we switch around to 2011, and this one right here, this is one of my personal favorites. The hell's Eric? Okay, I wasn't looking. There's Eric. Eric shows up in 2011. Now, you know why this one's important? I just get crickets, man. Come on, somebody. He is our first contributor to YUI that was hired to the YUI team from his work in the public. He had never been at Yahoo before. He was not an internal transfer. He was a community member that was actually working with the public and was so good at what he did, we wanted him to come work with us. That's fucking cool, right? I mean, come on, wake the hell up. Jeez. I know it's early, but I mean, damn, it's 10 o'clock. It's noon for me. I've had like 2 coffees already. I've been here since 5 a.m. Wake the fuck up. But anyway, this one is awesome because it was a first for our entire team. No one had ever done that before. All of the team members up until that point had been other Yahoos. They had come from other departments. There had been other people at Yahoo that had used this, but we had never officially hired a community member. So I was insanely happy when Eric joined us because it was another shifting point in the way that YUI was going, is that we were becoming less and less of a corporate team and more of a community team, and it just keeps going downhill from there. So the other thing that happened right after Eric did was we actually got a new logo, and this time it was different. It was newer, it was shinier, it was prettier. The other thing that comes along with that, Ryan and I spent how long? 4 months? 5 months? So we spent a lot of time doing the new website. So that was another a really big turning point for us too, because we were on our own. I mean, Brian and I were the ones that accept pages for the site going down. If it didn't work, it was our fault. We didn't have an entire ops team. We didn't have 100 servers to sit there. These were ours. I mean, we built them, we maintained them, and the night that it launched, I was up all night, and I think I deployed 35 times that night while everybody was using it. And it was a big shift because not only was it prettier, and it was more well laid out. Ryan did a great job with Celic, which was our documentation tool. And we were able to actually combine YUIDoc and Celic in a very simple way that we could dump it into Mongo, and we had really super fucking simple search. We didn't have to hardly do anything to get a really good set of search out of it. And the search is awesome. I mean, Ryan's the one that wrote it, so everybody has to personally walk up and thank Ryan for the search because it's totally fucking cool, right? How many of you guys have used that to find some fucking information? All right, so that's his fault. He's right over there. He's in the hat with the little bin. See? So you have to personally thank him for that because he worked very, very hard. The other really, really cool part of this is that it's actually most of it's written in Node. So that was our first really big chunk to write one of our own sites in Node. But it was even more interesting is the fact that it's written in like 2 different languages. There's PHP on one side and there's Node on the other. And we blended them together and y'all can't tell the difference. That's what's totally awesome. You can't tell when you jump from one part of the site to the other which one of that is Node and which one of it's PHP until you look under the hood. Yeah, Ryan's over there shaking his head. Most people can't. You can because you know what parts are. But it was interesting. It was an interesting challenge because we had to actually make 3 totally separate systems work together flawlessly. And Ryan and I spent a lot of our extra time working on this. I mean, we were still full on in the team, so we had all of our normal things that we had to do. So we took this on as a way for both of us because we know we wanted to get it done and it had to get done. So we did it ourselves, and I loved it. I thought it was. I think that was the first time I'd ever worked with Ryan full time. And I'm not going to say any bad things about him, but. But no, Ryan's awesome, and I love him to death. But the other thing that came out in 2011 is official support in YUI for Node. So there was no more hacks. We actually launched it into our CI system, and we were testing over 7,000 unit tests every time we committed on Node, and on the current version, the previous version, and the next version. So we wanted to make sure that YUI always runs on Node, and because we knew that was going to be a partnership, and it was a partnership that we wanted to keep. Moving on into 2012, the next thing that happened, which was, you can kind of see where it's going here, is that Mr. Tony, where's he at? Over there. There he is. Everybody look over in that corner and embarrass Tony. So, Tony showed up in 2012, and he made the second official external contributor to join the team. And I think it's fantastic. I mean, that's 2 people that we had so far. These were community members. These were people that were in the IRC channel, helping other people. They were dedicating their own free time to helping others. They were teaching people, and not only were they doing that, but they were also bringing code back in. So they were submitting their pull requests, and they were fixing bugs. That was really, really awesome. And then it's like it's this giant explosion of cool shit that just keeps happening, because the next thing is I'm going to embarrass Ryan again, and him and Luke, when I announced at last year's YUIConf, and I physically stood on stage and added them with commit access. That was a first time in history for, I think, any Yahoo open source product that an external user had full commit access to our source. Tell me that's not fucking cool. I mean, right? And I know that it's going to keep going. It's just going to keep going and going, because now we have, how many committers do we have now? 14 committers. And we've got 3 now that aren't, 4. We have 4 now that are not Yahoo employees. No? Huh? Yeah, he doesn't fucking remember. See, I was too damn tired last night to look it up. But I mean, the whole point is that we had never done that before. So we're even stepping in even more and throwing in more and more of the community, because we started, like we said, we started learning early that we had to make this change. So we just kept slowly and slowly and slowly making this change. And and then we come to what we've been doing in 2013, and I've been following it. I mean, even though I wasn't around for half of 2013 because I was laying on my back with a busted back. 2013 had a brand new series of things come in. So we've now got Pure, and I was just completely flabbergasted. I was speechless, period, when I saw Pure, because I had no idea it was coming. I was gone the entire time they worked on it, and then come to find out the thing's got 6,000 stars on GitHub. It actually has more stars than YUI 3 does. And most people don't realize that's all YUI 3 stuff. It's all that CSS is YUI 3 stuff anyway. But I love it, and I think it's great. And then one of the final things that actually happened in 2013 is Carity is officially a YUI team member. So after, from 2006 to 2013, he was just cool. But now he's super cool, right? I mean, because now he's a member of the actual team. And it was awesome to get that notice too, because I think it happened while I was out as well, and I didn't know about it until I got back. But it's cool, because that technically makes him, what, number 4 community member that worked their way into the YUI team. So it took him a while. He had to earn it, but he made it, and we're really happy about that. And then one of the other ones is Juan. I mean, you guys know Juan made it, right? Where's he at? There he is. Embarrass him. And that one was insanely happy, because I didn't even know it happened. I saw a tweet from him that says, "I'm at Yahoo," and I'm like, what? Where the fuck did that come from? And it actually had Sunnyvale on the geolocation at the bottom. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did nobody tell me this shit? So I mean, you can see that they're moving, and it's constantly moving to all the new stuff and everything. It's fantastic to see. I mean, even considering that I came in 2006, seeing all of this stuff and looking back and seeing, you can see the key points. You can see where it's going and where it's been, and I love it. I mean, the YUI project is such a fantastic project, and it's even better when the community is involved. And I have always been a really big guy on being the community. I love the community aspect of it. That's why I was answering questions. I don't think I've been on the forum in 9 months, but I still have the #1 posts. Satyam hasn't beaten me yet. And I had the #1 post on the mailing list. It's really heartwarming to see the difference that comes through, and it's even nicer now, that I haven't been on the team in the last 6 to 9 months, and still watching what's been happening, because I see it, and you know, seeing that they're still pulling in community members and they're still making it a community project and not just a corporate project. And the super cool stuff about all this is that Yahoo does this not just with YUI. We do it with almost every other product that we have, and most people don't realize it because you guys aren't in that industry. I'm stepping into that industry now, and I'm seeing all of these other projects that Yahoo has given away and all of this massive source code. And they're going to learn the same thing. So that's what I've been trying to do is go into these other projects and teaching them the same things and the same things that we've learned, the things to do and the things not to do, and the right ways to be doing this stuff. So yeah, I ran a little quick on that one, so that's all I've got for you because we started a little late. But thanks. I mean, this is the first YUIConf that I've spoken at that I was not on the team. It was different. The picture, I mean, the gravatar that I've always used with the hoodie, with my hat on, that was taken in 2007 at what actually became YUIConf. We used to have these things at Yahoo called the F2E Summit, and the F2E Summit then turned into YUIConf. In 2007, I spoke at the first one, and that was my first technical speak at a YUIConf, and I wasn't on the team either. So it's kind of funny that in 2007, I did my first talk, and then here I am 2013, I'm doing this one, and I'm not officially on the team. But like I said, I want to say thanks, and again, say thanks for the 6 years that I was on the team, and I really loved it, and I'm still technically involved, but they just take their time to ask me a question. They wait until they've got me cornered somewhere, and then they ask me a question. But again, thanks a lot, everybody, and I hope you guys have a good day. All right.
Thanks, Dave. We have time for questions. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand.
Thank you for sharing this. It's totally awesome. And I would like to know, every single year of YUI is, definitely a surprise in positive way to me. And I would like to know what's going to be in the next coming future, like for 2014.
That's Eric.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't come yesterday morning, so.
Okay, yeah, that would be Eric. That's his department now.
Yeah, so some of the stuff that I talked about yesterday was really around looking at how we can revamp the module system with ES6 modules and kind of align with some of these new emerging technologies. And also yesterday, Thilo talked a lot about the event gesture support that he's been revamping, and Clarence and also Carity were talking about some of this awesome stuff we're doing with Node and Express.js. So.
All these videos will be available on the YUI Theater video channel, so you can check them out after the conference.
Now that you are not part of the team anymore, but moving to other things, how do you see Yahoo adopting Node.js as the backend technology or middleware technology all across the board?
Well, right now we're not going all across the board. What we're actually doing is anything new that is written, they get to choose which front-end framework they want to use, and most of them are actually switching over to Node. Several of our latest deployments, as in Flickr, the new view a photo page. Have you guys seen the new page where you actually look at a photo? That's actually built on Node. So you're actually hitting our Node server for that page, and that's the #1 page on Flickr. So all of their traffic, that's the one that gets the shit kicked out of it the most. And they're like, well, fuck it, turn it all the way up. So they just turned it all the way up to 100, and they let it run. So that's pretty cool. There's parts of my.yahoo.com, and there's parts of our media sites. So some of the sports sites are all running on Node, and parts of search are, right? Yeah, so we got parts of search, parts of the media properties. They're just making the switch slowly but surely. I mean, we can't rewrite everything now, but what we do is, as we're moving forward and writing new things, we're trying to apply that as the technology we use when we build it. Anything else?
Come on, it's Dave.
I mean,
Question.
yeah, usually I get like 100 billion questions. All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.